Hello and welcome to the Mirror Gaming Walkthrough. We're live with the latest news from the world of gaming. We've got some brilliant topics for you today. This week has been mad for gaming news. We've got the big news today that Microsoft's proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard has been blocked by the UK government's regulatory body, the CMA, but maybe not for the reason you think. So we'll be getting into that a bit later on. We'll also talk about Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which very own Aaron reviewed for us. The review embargo is dropping at 4, which is now, so we can talk about it, which is good. So he'll be giving us our thoughts on that. And then we'll also talk about the new Asus ROG Ally, the gaming handheld that could potentially rival the Valve Steam Deck. So we'll be going into that a little bit more later on. I'd say that's a pretty tasty show. I'm really looking forward to this one. Well, roll the credits.
Everyone thinks he or she is the best football expert on the planet.
I'm just playing for pride now. And my pride's gone.
We're very passionate people here.
Oh, well, hello.
We're ready to come for the W, yeah?
These girls will smoke you, man.
Yeah. Hello and welcome once again to the Mirror Gaming Walkthrough. We've got some very tasty topics for you this week, as I'm sure you heard earlier on. But I just want to introduce my guests for today, my esteemed colleagues, Jasmine Mannan and Aaron Potter. How you guys doing? Nice quiet day for everyone today in the world of gaming?
Yeah, pretty easy going, if truth be told. Not a lot has happened at all. No major earth-shattering game industry news. Yeah, just plain sailing.
Absolutely.
I get to say, as a hardware specialist, that it actually has been a pretty chill day for me. So thank you very much. Yeah.
But the last week has been pretty busy for you, obviously.
Yeah, it has. It has.
ROG Ally, which we'll go into a little bit later on. And I've got my lights green behind me for Xbox. Yeah, just because I can, really. And because also it's main topic for today. So the main topic for today, as I said before, is the CMA, which is the Competitions and Markets Authority, has prevented Microsoft's proposed purchase of Activision over concerns the deal would alter the future of the fast-growing cloud gaming market, leading to reduced innovation and less choice for UK gamers over the years to come. That's obviously relating to Microsoft's proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard for the small sum of $68.7 billion. There's quite a few bits to go through in the rulings that we can look at over the course of the show. But I just wanted to just touch base, Aaron and Jasmine, to just get your initial reactions to it, because we thought I don't know if I was alone in this, but I thought, look, they're gonna try hard to get it through. There's gonna be a couple of bumps in the road, but look, Microsoft are huge. It's going to go through eventually. Seeing this was a little bit of a shock to me. What was your initial takes, guys?
I guess I'll go first then. It was when I say shocking, I think that the comments I put in our Slack chat was that I was shook. I was shooketh because I was in the middle of doing something else, and obviously we knew that the deadline for the CMA's decision was going to be today, and basically all signs pointed towards that the CMA was going to approve of Microsoft's proposed $68.7 billion acquisition of Activision Blizzard. There were analysts saying this, industry insiders saying this, and basically I think the most sort of like the biggest indication that would be the case was about a month ago, where the CMA U-turned on how it believed that Microsoft would treat Call of Duty as a franchise. Because up until that point, we'd all been saying like, "Oh, why make Call of Duty exclusive at all?" And there's a risk that it'll make Call of Duty an Xbox platform exclusive. But even the CMA conceded in the end that that wouldn't be financial viable. So what is Microsoft's incentive? So if PlayStation, Jim Ryan, we're the CMA talking to you now, why would Microsoft do that? And when the summarized report came out today, even though they denied it, it turns out that it had very little to do with Microsoft's treatment of Call of Duty, which is a bit of an anticlimax considering that for the better part of a year now, that's the kind of angle that we've all been like looking into. And because obviously, as well as Crash Bandicoot, as well as Tony Hawk's, as well as World of Warcraft, all these other franchises, Call of Duty is kind of the behemoth elephant in the room. And then ultimately, it didn't even come down to that. It came down to Microsoft's apparent dominance in the cloud gaming market, which the CMA looked at and went, there's my famous noise again. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. When the email came through initially, obviously the big headline is the CMA prevents Microsoft's proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard. when I scrolled down, I thought I was going to see Call of Duty, Call of Duty, Call of Duty throughout the email, and there was barely a mention of it. It was all around cloud gaming and the dominance, and I'll just read you some of the findings as well from the email that we got from the CMA. So it says that Microsoft already accounts for an estimated 60 to 70% of global cloud gaming services and has other important strengths in cloud gaming, from owning Xbox, the leading PC operating system Windows, and a global cloud computing infrastructure, which is Azure. That's a blast from the past, isn't it? The deal would reinforce Microsoft's advantage in the market by giving it control over important gaming content such as Call of Duty, Overwatch, World of Warcraft. And the evidence available says that Activision would start providing games via cloud platforms in the foreseeable future. And then they go on to say about how at the moment the UK players have got like a choice between buying an expensive console or doing cloud gaming, and at the moment, if they kept things the same, that choice would still be there. But if Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard goes through, there'd be less choice for gamers. So that was their main point from what we can see on here. Jasmine, as someone who's dabbled in cloud gaming yourself, do you think Microsoft kind of dominating cloud gaming would be a bad thing? And do you think that's what was your initial reaction as well to the actual news?
Well, I'll say initially I was really, really stunned because I was on the same page as you in that Microsoft is massive. There's kind of in my head like, no way this wasn't gonna go through. So then when it didn't, I was literally just like really confused to begin with. And then seeing about cloud gaming stuff again, I thought it was all going to be Call of Duty as well. So seeing that it wasn't was weird. But in terms of cloud gaming, I think that even right now, it already feels like Xbox have sort of like a monopoly on cloud gaming. There is obviously like GeForce Now from Nvidia and stuff like that, but I just personally, having used both services, I just think that Xbox cloud gaming, even though it's still in beta, is just so much more reliable, and especially if you're a Game Pass subscriber, you already have all of those games there. You don't need to wait for stuff to install. You just jump straight on. I think it's like it works really, really well. So it kind of feels like that monopoly is already there. But I do understand in the sense that if they further that monopoly, it's going to just stop innovation. It's going to make cloud gaming sort of stagnate at where it is now. So it does make sense. But I'm still just like really stunned. I just didn't expect the deal not to go through. So I don't really have words, to be honest with you.
You're not alone in that. Like Aaron said, there's a lot of people who know a lot more than I do going on about how it's going to get through eventually. People who really know their stuff, and for it not to. I mean, Microsoft and Activision have said they will appeal as well, because they obviously really want it to go through. But just before we continue the conversation, thank you so much to everyone watching on our YouTube channel and Facebook as well. If you've got any thoughts about the acquisition not going through, or you've got any opinions on cloud gaming, please drop a comment and we'll read them out throughout the show. We've got Scott in the chat. Hi, Scott. He says Microsoft should buy Goku. I'm not sure Goku's for sale at the moment, Scott, because he's not real. But I'm sure we can get onto that.
Yeah, don't say that to him.
Can you see Goku now, Scott? Point to Goku. Where is he now?
Don't say that to him, guys. Don't say that to him, guys.
Let us know. But yeah, thank you so much for everyone watching. If you've got any opinions on what we're speaking about, or if you've got any thoughts, or even if they're contradictory, we'd love to hear what you think, because we know that there's so many different opinions out there. So we'd love to hear your thoughts on it. We can debate any throughout the show as well. So thank you very much. Scott says Goku mention in the podcast quota hit. Yeah, yes, definitely. One Goku reference too many. I'll just read out, because obviously I just mentioned Microsoft and Activision will be appealing the decision. There's some very spicy responses, particularly from Activision, who said that the CMA's report contradicts the ambitions of the UK to become an attractive country to build technology businesses. A spokesman for Activision said, "We'll work aggressively with Microsoft to reverse that on appeal. The report's conclusions are a disservice to UK citizens who face increasingly dire economic prospects. We will reassess our growth plans for the UK. Global innovators, large and small, will take note that, despite all its rhetoric, the UK is clearly closed for business." Oh,
Shots fired.
oh.
Shots absolutely fired.
Yeah, because Bobby Kodak's in the perfect position to be making judgment on other parties and individuals,
Yeah.
isn't he? Yeah, he's in the prime position for that.
Absolutely. That does feel like a sting, like directly at the UK government. Obviously, the CMA is a sort of arm of the UK government as well, so that does feel like a direct attack on them, really, of what's going on. And obviously, this is a gaming show, and politics is very nuanced. And obviously, I know everyone in the UK is feeling that hit of the cost of living and everything like that. And it's very difficult to disagree with the comments there, but. Microsoft also said the CMA's decision rejects a pragmatic path to address competition concerns and discourages technology innovation and investment in the United Kingdom. They also say this decision appears to reflect a flawed understanding of this market and the way the relevant cloud technology actually works. So Microsoft is saying that the UK government don't know what they're on about, basically. They don't understand cloud gaming, so why should you decide against the deal, which are both really, really strong comments from both parties there. There's also a really interesting bit about Game Pass, which is our favourite topic on the walkthrough, particularly with Aaron as well on the podcast.
Don't summon me now, Nathan. Don't summon me. Don't do it.
There was a mention of Game Pass in there. I'm not just putting it in. They did mention it. So the CMA said that they carefully considered the benefit of having Activision content available on Game Pass, but this outweighed the harm that the merger would cause. Game Pass outweighed the harm the merger would cause to competition in cloud gaming, but the CMA found that this new payment option, while benefit to some consumers, would not outweigh the overall harm to competition, particularly given the incentive for Microsoft to increase the cost of its Game Pass subscription post-merger to reflect the addition of Activision valuable games. Aaron, do you think that would have happened? Do you think if it all goes through and they say, World of Warcraft, Call of Duty on Game Pass now, oh, and by the way, we're putting up the price. Do you think that's a fair criticism from the CMA?
Yeah, I think so. And the reason I think that is because I wrote this article, I want to say 2 months ago, potentially, maybe a little bit less, where the CMA had previously stated that was a fear of theirs. And I feel like I think at the time when that was sort of stated in the documents, we didn't kind of like pick up on how much of a threat it considered that in terms of like the value of Xbox Game Pass. Because I'm still someone that believes that Xbox Game Pass is going to be going up in price at some point this year in certain territories. Microsoft, to its credit, has been a bit better compared to other platform holders about keeping prices low. Like PlayStation had the price hike for the PS5, both SKUs of it. Whereas Xbox at the time were sort of like touting, oh, we're not putting our box up, look at us, whatever. And obviously, for topics that we've talked about before that I've mentioned that I don't want to go over now, Microsoft can afford to eat that cost. And I'm kind of just waiting for the day when the penny drops, where Microsoft just kind of like that, literally the penny drops, and then they kind of have to start making money, make some actual money, and get a return on all these investments. What I would hope, like now that the acquisition has hit this stumbling block, because obviously it can still go through, like you said, they can appeal it, but as I understand it, as long as the CMA are denying it, because they're, for whatever reason, they carry a lot more weight than other global regulators out there compared to people like South Africa and Saudi Arabia and Chile and stuff like that. Until the CMA budge and Microsoft are able to appeal it and prove otherwise, that we're probably not going to be seeing Activision come under Microsoft's ownership. So Microsoft would have less flexibility in terms of if they were to put the price of Xbox Game Pass up. But as it stands right now, they've still got Redfall coming out next month. Less than a week actually now, I think, maybe just over. They've got Starfield coming out in September. So I feel like there's still a likelihood that Xbox Game Pass should shoot up in price. But if Phil Spencer and co were hedging their bets on the fact that this deal would have been done by now and that they would have been able to advertise the Xbox Game Pass price hike by saying, look at all this extra value we're bringing, then it looks like timelines have shifted and they've got another thing coming.
Yeah. Got a couple of comments in the chat. Hi, JD Incinerator in the chat. He says, I love this comment. Bobby Kotick is saying this stuff for attention. Obviously, I'd rather listen to a slice of cheese on toast about the games industry than him, and that does a disservice to cheese on toast. That's amazing. Thank you for the comment, JD.
Comment of the day.
Absolutely. And Callie is in the chat as well. Hello. Thank you for joining us today. Jasmine, you mentioned about cloud gaming, about how they've already kind of got a grip on the industry, and this would further add to it, having Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Overwatch 2 on that cloud gaming service. That would add even more to it. And then also Aaron saying that he thinks Game Pass will go up as a result if it did go through. do we want this to go? Are the CMA right? Do we want this not to go through? Because I'm not seeing any positive comments around this. Like,
I mean, Game Pass would definitely go up if they provided access to stuff like World of Warcraft, because World of Warcraft is already like a paid game, and if they straight away just went, hey, we're increasing the service by £5-10 extra, like it would put it up to £20-25. Like, people have become so reliant on it, especially with new releases on it and stuff like that. If it suddenly had a whole lineup of COD games, people would be more than willing to pay that. So I think realistically they would have put it up, knowing that people weren't going to cancel their subscriptions for the most part. It's like Netflix, right? So people would have continued to pay for it. But I think that in terms of cloud gaming, I just think that that's a very small part of the issue, and it's strange to me that the CMA focused on it so much and made it this whole like thing about, oh yeah, like they're going to have a monopoly on the cloud gaming market, when there are clearly like tons of other issues with the acquisition. Which is like what I think the big shock is for most people, is that they just like honed in on cloud gaming. They're like, oh yeah, like they're going to monopolize the industry, and then there's going to be no innovation, and then cloud gaming is going to become really crap. And it's like, there are tons of other issues with this acquisition, so many. And I feel like this cloud gaming thing has like overshadowed what the actual issue is here, because it's not just about cloud gaming. It's about like having access to a ton of different games and them being locked behind one single paywall, because you never know. Even though the whole thing has been, oh yeah, like we're not going to make COD an Xbox exclusive and whatever, you just, once they've got it, what's stopping them from doing that?
Yeah, I think Aaron has talked before on the podcast as well about how Microsoft, particularly Phil Spencer, says certain things, and then they tend to be the opposite after a few years.
Yeah, exactly.
He's playing a long game, Phil Spencer is.
Absolutely. So some of the games that he's promised will never be exclusive. Do you want to rattle them off, Aaron? I know you probably know.
Well, obviously, it was about 2-3 weeks ago where we learned that Redfall was being developed internally at Bethesda at Arcane prior to the Microsoft Activision, and that they ripped that away, and it's only gotten worse really, because in the weeks since that news story broke, we now find that the world's most powerful console, the Xbox Series X, it can't even run that game at 60 FPS. A modern game, the first proper first-party Xbox Series X exclusive, and I'm on the brink now, but I'm holding myself back because this is what's frustrating me. This is what's frustrating me.
Go for it.
At every moment, Phil Spencer and Xbox keep standing on rakes, and every time I give them an inch, they take a mile. Hi-Fi Rush came out at the beginning of this year. Brilliant. We finally get a Bethesda game. Xbox incubated it. Oh, what? No, it was incubated before the Bethesda purchase. Okay. But Redfall, though, we saw that. It was revealed after the Xbox acquisition happened. No, it was in development for PS5 as well. So, and the weird thing with that is, not to derail its entire separate issue, is that Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo were 1 year exclusivity PS5 exclusive games. And both those games ran at 60. And now that we've got a Bethesda game going exclusive to Xbox Series X, we've got a game that doesn't run at 60, and that might not mean much for the wider ramifications of the Microsoft Activision deal, but I actually think it does if you look at it in a microscopic level, because if Xbox is having that detrimental an impact within its own first-party family of studios, just imagine what's going to happen when you get these Xbox titles come out, and there's literally no excuse. So yeah, it keeps setting itself up. Like, Scott makes a good point in the chat. Ghostwire runs worse on Xbox too. So what were they doing that whole time for a year? Basically, I'm not a big fan of consolidation or whatever. And I saw I was sharing news about this on Twitter the other day, earlier today. Because honestly, the cloud gaming thing really caught me off guard. And to be honest, it's not an area that I indulge in much, because I'm still at that point where cloud gaming isn't really quite smooth enough to replace native, playing natively on your console. So I tweeted earlier, cloud gaming to the rescue, a further market consolidation, I guess. And then somebody commented, it's like, well, yeah, I feel sad for all of those Activision employees though, because they're still under Bobby Kotick. Well, and my response to that was, well, maybe the Activision board should have thought twice before it re-elected to re-up Bobby Kotick's, position as CEO, because they did have the chance to do that. But the board were Bobby was telling them, keep me on. I'll make sure this deal goes through. Keep me on. Hence why he's so I'll use the word miffed now, probably towards the UK, because there's a chance that they might out him when his contract comes up for renewal, and he's not going to get his golden parachute. Of course, there's so much feeding into this story. Like, it's part of a wider whole, and it really is like this decision it has a domino effect of the future of how we play games. I truly believe that. Maybe I'm being hypothetical, but that's just how I feel.
Yeah, and it's really interesting as well because we also learned earlier on this week as well, I think it was today actually or yesterday, that Microsoft's gaming revenue fell 4% and Xbox hardware revenue declined 30% in the last quarter. So in the last quarter, Microsoft earned $1 billion in revenue from subscriptions during the quarter. That sounds like a lot. But when there's 4 quarters of the year, that's $4 billion. That's $4 billion a year, and then $4 billion if you're trying to make that into 68, 10, 15. We're talking 17 years. Quick math. Can tell me if I'm wrong, anyone? That it would take Microsoft 17 years to get back the revenue from the proposed Activision Blizzard buyout. But then that's not also putting in the costs of what it comes before it as well. So it's 1 billion sounds like a lot, but it's actually not that much considering how much they're going to spend as well. I think what's really interesting is that I think Microsoft look a little bit desperate in this situation because, like you said, we've talked a lot about on this podcast about how there's no first party Xbox games, and there is going to be a few Redfall, Starfield coming out this year, but the fact that having Call of Duty on Xbox exclusive, even if it's not for 10 years, even if they talk about 10 years, I don't believe that. But let's say a couple of years' time they make it Call of Duty Xbox exclusive.
Warzone 2's doing really well at the moment, though, isn't it? Warzone 2's skyrocketing in popularity.
Well, we talked about it. It's dying, isn't it? It's dying. So I feel like every month that goes by, this is looking like a worse deal for Microsoft and a worse deal for UK customers to me. That's how it looks to me. Even though I thought it would go through, it just looks like, as the months go on, it just looks like a worse and worse deal. I just think
that the thing is that, like I was saying before, like they're such a big company, and not to get too into politics and stuff, but it'd be so easy for them to lobby this decision and get it overturned. To be completely honest, like if they want to purchase Activision Blizzard, they will find a way to do that. However it happens, they will find a way to do it. And I think this, like you're saying, is now reassessing the situation. It just looks like this is a terrible idea for both UK consumers and for Microsoft to do. So maybe they could use this as their sort of scapegoat and get out and think, okay, yeah, do you know what? Let's sod it. Let's not do this because it's going to be a really bad idea.
Like
right?
an anonymous Twitter situation type thing where he tried to get out of it and then
right. So this could maybe be their opportunity to get out. But the thing is that realistically that's not going to happen because it's going to make them look really bad, and they need to somehow push this deal through so that they can not look like they've completely failed. And I just feel like it will eventually happen one way or another because it's Microsoft, and Microsoft always get what they want to get, whether it's allowed or not. So
that's the problem, though, isn't it? Is that they're airing all of this is happening in, they're airing their dirty laundry in public, to use a well-worn metaphor. And honestly, I don't know why Xbox just can't take the L because, as Jasmine was hinting at, and go away and lick its wounds. It's nobody wins in this scenario. Nobody wins. Microsoft doesn't win because even if it wants Call of Duty to be exclusive, it has to wait 10 years to have that. Obviously, PlayStation players don't win because they don't get to play Call of Duty eventually. Nintendo doesn't win because there's no way on this earth that Call of Duty is running on a Nintendo system, at least the Nintendo Switch. and players don't win because Xbox Game Pass prices are likely going to go up should Activision games be added to the lineup anyway. I'm baffled by it. And I've always been baffled by it. And the fact that when people come out in support of it just because they want to get Diablo 4 for $10.99 per month as opposed to paying $60, $70 for it, I understand increasing people's access and making it cheaper for people. But the irony is that if I didn't pay for Xbox Game Pass, I wouldn't pay for any Xbox games at all. And yet I'm still on that drip. I'm still paying for Xbox Game Pass for the occasional promise of games that are never coming anyway. So it's weird. Nobody wins.
Yeah.
At this point, I feel like I'm just paying for Xbox Game Pass, so I can say that I pay for Xbox Game Pass. Like I'm not, I'm not like using anything on there. And like, every so often, I'll open it up again, and I'll be like, yeah, let me see what's on Game Pass, and then I'll like just scroll for like an hour or something, and be like, yeah, none of these really tickle my fancy. Like there's just not really anything on there that's piquing my interest right now.
Yeah.
Not to make this an Xbox Game Pass debate entirely, but the difference between, because obviously the analog that people like using is Netflix. Xbox Game Pass is the Netflix for games. But with Netflix,
Was that a shot at me because I said that earlier?
No, literally it wasn't. I even forgot you said it. But it's kind of like the difference there is that you can watch a movie in an hour and a half, whereas the majority of games, you know, it could be upwards of 50, 60 hours. So you're just not getting, for the amount of content that's on there. And, you know, we see this through other services as well, like Prime Gaming and stuff. Just companies pushing these games out just like in their droves when each game... Oh, how sentimental do I want to get? Like every game is a passion project for someone. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like we're just devaluing it like more and more every day. Yeah. But anyway, money in it. Money's got to be made.
Money is king. Another point that was really interesting for me that I feel like maybe this all boils down to really. This is quite low down in the report, but the CMA says that accepting Microsoft's remedy would inevitably require some degree of regulatory oversight by the CMA. By contrast, preventing the merger would effectively allow market forces to continue to operate and shape the development of cloud gaming without this regulatory intervention. So what the CMA is saying basically is that Microsoft would then be so big at that point and control so much of the cloud gaming market that the CMA would have to have complete regulatory oversight on them and would have to go through every single decision they make. Think about how much work that is for the CMA to do when they've got so many other things to do.
But I feel like that's what the CMA should be doing now anyway. Is that bad to say?
Only so many people work at the CMA, Jasmine. Like
I know.
That's the benefit of having a free market. And I'm not putting this at you or
Yes.
whatever, but it's called a free market for a reason, right? You've got to provide incentive and stuff. And obviously there are a few cases like this. The problem is, I dread to think if Google Stadia was such a thing, because Google's a pretty big company, and obviously not many people use Stadia anyway. But the truth is that none of us really know if anybody at the CMA is interested in games, plays games. They can only do with act on the evidence they're given. So my fear is that if Google Stadia was still a major player in the cloud gaming space, they would have looked at that and went like, oh, well, we can improve this because Microsoft and Google, that's a good level of competition there.
Yeah.
When in reality, Microsoft will forever trounce Google in any gaming thing it does.
Yeah. But that does feel like, even though it's quite a small point, it does feel like this might be what it all boils down to, in that the regulating that industry would be bad for consumers and bad for Microsoft as well, because every decision they make would have to get approval from the UK government, and just that, imagine, like you said, the people at the CMA, do they really understand these decisions that Microsoft are making, and how long would that take? And it would
But
just
I feel like that's another reason for Microsoft to use this as a scapegoat and back down, because they would never want every single like small business decision they're making for now into another 10 years into the future to be like monitored by the CMA. So now that they've finally got that feedback from the CMA, that should be like the wake up call for them to be like, okay, guys, we need to not do this. This is like a terrible idea. Why? I don't know why they're even like putting out statements about appealing the decision, when realistically, take a hard look at what you're doing. It's not going to work. And who is it benefiting?
That looked really desperate from Bobby Kotick, obviously. And I thought it was funny that the statement came from him and not Microsoft. Like, I'm sure they've spoken and they would have been informed of the CMA's decision long before we were, hence why they were ready with their statements. But when Bobby Kotick was like, we are appealing this decision, I was interested that I don't know if Microsoft is totally 100% on board with that. So maybe Jasmine's onto something with the whole backing down type thing. Just think of like how many games you could make for 68.7 billion, as opposed to Call of Duty, Candy Crush, which Scott brought up that we always forget about. Candy Crush apparently makes money, even though I don't know anybody who plays it, but that's what people tell me. You know, I could say the same about Fortnite, I guess, but it's crazy. Just fund other games, make them and put them out. You're in the games business, Microsoft, and you're not doing a good job at making games.
Yeah, I'll make them a game for a couple of billion if they want.
Yeah,
if they're in the
market.
Yeah, I've got a printer on the market. Maybe they can buy that off me for a couple of billion if they just want to spend some money. You know,
Yeah,
on Facebook Marketplace.
Not to get too serious again, but Microsoft had layoffs at the beginning of this year as well.
Yes.
Can you imagine being one of those employees whilst watching this deal trying to be put through?
That is
Yeah, it doesn't-
insane. That is
doesn't look good.
absolutely insane to me.
Yeah, it doesn't look good, does it? From a PR perspective. We've got some comments in the chat as well. JD Incinerator, again, he says, I think the games industry is going the way of our culture down the drain. I don't want to be a cynical Sylvester, but the greed inherent in the games industry is unfortunate, to say the very least. It just feels like there's a lot of greed. But there's a lot of good as well, JD. Don't be overly cynical. There's a lot of good people. There is some bad people, but yeah, I get your point.
Stick around for the Star Wars chat, everyone. It gets much perkier, I promise you.
Absolutely. Adam is also in the chat. Adam L. Hi, Aaron. Hi, Adam. Thanks for tuning in. Aaron seems genuinely frustrated and upset about this whole mismanagement of Game Pass. You will only get this level of personal investment at Mirror Gaming. Absolutely. This is the only place you will get this personal frustration investment from Aaron on Game Pass.
That's it. You won't find me. Yeah,
this is exclusive to us. Exclusive to us.
You won't find this level of frustration from me anywhere else. Only at the Mirror Gaming.
Absolutely.
Talking about Xbox. Yeah.
And JD as well says, at least we can still enjoy what there is. No wonder why we get so nostalgic and we get so many remakes and remasters. That could be true. Could be true. Yeah. It just feel like, especially at the beginning of the year, it felt so slow in the game industry. There was like nothing new to play, but there is a lot of new games coming.
Maybe that's why I only play games that I hate. I'm so sorry to cut off, but I was just thinking.
You just ruined my segue. I can do it.
I'm so sorry. I realised you were segueing as I started speaking, and I was like, "Oh, well, I'm already talking now."
It's all right. It wasn't very good. It wasn't very good.
I was just thinking maybe that's why I hate all of the games that I play, because I don't have that like nostalgic attachment to a lot of older games when the gaming industry was better. You know, like I play stuff like Overwatch and League of Legends, and then I complain about Fortnite, and then I come to work and I'm like, guys, I hate these games. I hate them so much, and I still play them like every single day.
What games did you play as a kid? Like
I played like Nintendo games, and I mainly played like Mario and Sonic games. Like both of those franchises would like raised me. I loved them.
Jasmine, let me cast your mind back to a time when you could walk into a game store, brick and mortar, where you could buy games physically, and you never knew what you were going to see on the shelf. I remember picking up a game once. It was called Chili Con Carnage. Was that culturally sensitive? Probably not. But my God, about 10, 20 years ago, you know, more games on the shelf. Of varying qualities is true.
Yeah, every time I used to go to like Asda to go grocery shopping, like my mum would just like leave me in the game section, and she'd be like, "Okay, don't get kidnapped." Like
the game section was your babysitter.
Yeah, she'd like, "Don't get kidnapped," because obviously you don't want a kid running around with you when you're like doing your grocery shopping, right? She'd be like, "Stay here," and I'd sit there for like an hour just looking at every single game, and then I'd be like, "Mum, can I get this?" And she'd say no. So you know, like she just left me there to taunt me.
Yeah.
But like,
I don't. Yeah.
I feel like you don't have those anymore. A lot of supermarkets, it's not like as normalized to buy physical games and stuff, so they just don't have them.
Not to be overly nostalgic, to turn this into a nostalgia podcast, but you know what I miss? I miss the midnight game releases.
Oh yeah, that was good, wasn't it?
I don't know if Jasmine ever, maybe she's too young for this, but I remember going to Asda at midnight to pick up like FIFA 15. And then play all more, even though I had college in the morning and like I had like a test or I had some sort of like work to do. I'd play it till like 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning. Like, but those memories of like having that time, like I won't remember what I was doing at college because who remembers that? But
yeah,
I'll remember the time, you know, putting the disc in for the first time, hearing the music. You know, remembering being so tired and still managing to play and enjoy it with my friends and all being on like a call with each other and stuff. Aaron, can you remember? Were you a midnight games person?
I didn't do too many midnight launches. I think the last midnight launch I did, it wasn't actually that long ago. It was for Pokemon Sword and Shield for Nintendo Switch.
Oh, yeah.
Like my local game store did it. Obviously, the game didn't turn out to be very good, unfortunately. But in a similar sort of fashion.
I didn't want to say that, but yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't very good. But in a similar style to that, I remember Sainsbury's for day one releases. They always used to do this offer where it's like if you spend 40 quid on shopping, you get like the latest Call of Duty for 50% off.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was. And I remember picking up my favorite Call of Duty game, Call of Duty Black Ops, the original, 2010. Like begging my mum, "Oh, mum, please, can we do whatever?" Getting home, bloody loving it. Mason, we don't know what the numbers mean. I knew what they meant. They unlocked the key to my heart is what they did. So yeah, that's the sort of like nostalgia going to the shopping trip that I have.
Yeah, I know this is loosely related, but like Game Pass and cloud gaming is sort of taking that away from us in a way, because we're not really having to we're not having that experience of going somewhere, picking something up, having those sort of memories. It feels like the memories that they sort of generate, they're not going to be here for our children or our children's children, which is a bit it's a bit.
But this could lead back into this whole digital versus physical debate that I could talk about for hours and hours and hours. Like, digital games are ruining the gaming industry.
They are, but when was the last time you bought a physical game, Jasmine?
I did buy one.
Oh, go on.
No, I did buy one recently, but I forgot what it was. I buy all my Nintendo Switch games. I buy physical because they are cheaper.
They're cheaper that way.
Yeah.
In a way, Nintendo are keeping the physical games market alive by
just
just pricing it crazy themselves.
But I will say, I'm devastated that I buy a Nintendo Switch game and I open the case and all that's in it is the stupid little cartridge and not like some instruction manuals or other little, like, sometimes these stickers and stuff in there. I know it's such a stupid thing to be upset about over a sticker, but it's just like, I think it points to like a bigger sort of change in the direction of games. Like, there's no stickers in my physical cartridge cases anymore. I don't know.
Game manuals as well. Oh.
Yeah, I loved game manuals.
Yeah,
full color.
Exactly.
And like when you used to get Wii games and then you used to get like the Nintendo eShop points and it'd be like a little scratch thing that you had to scratch off and redeem the
My
code.
Nintendo points.
Yeah. Like, it's just I just opened up my one of my Wii games recently and I saw it and it just made me feel so sad. Like, that was like such a fun thing to just like it's like that memory of that experience of getting a new Wii game and scratching off the scratch thingy. I don't know.
Now all players have got to look forward to is typing into Google, when can I preload X game? And I guess that's it. But the annoying thing with the day one releases or midnight releases is that a lot of the time you might pre-order a game and like book the day off work to do it, but they unlock at certain times. And I've always thought that wherever it unlocks first, like midnight in whatever country this is, that's where it should unlock everywhere. Like, do global release unlocks, please.
Absolutely. Well, we've got loads of comments in the chat. Thank you so much for getting involved. It seems like we're not alone in this. So Callie says, my Asda still has a game section.
I'm jealous. Well jealous.
Treasure it always.
Treasure it. Scott said, I went to one for Elden Ring. Really? Tell us where, Scott. Oh. Where did you go? Will, producer's also in the chat. Hi, Will. Thanks for dropping into the chat. He says, I remember. Will, what was the game that you bought at midnight? Let us know. Adam L again. Thanks, Adam, for dropping in. Waiting outside game for the old COD games. Oh, of course, yeah. Like Modern Warfare 2, for example. I've still got a copy here.
That's the one.
Yeah, I remember them being out of stock and then driving around supermarkets for one. The 24/7 Tesco came out strong. What happened to 24/7 Tesco's? Where have they gone?
Don't even start on 24/7 Tesco's with me, because I was talking about that for ages.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into that. Adam L as well. Zombie Alone made Black Ops the best Call of Duty in history. Yeah, I mean, it's just a debate to be had around there. Scott says last month as well with Elden Ring. Okay, last month, that's cool. Kawaii Kishu as well in the chat. I remember I got Devil May Cry and it came with an art book and I still treasure it to this day. This is what I'm talking about, guys. These are the experiences that we're missing out on. Our children's children will never have this again. Should we just start a games publisher and just make games and just do it physical only? I feel like
that exists. What I thought you were going to say is, should we just start a retro games nostalgia podcast?
Maybe we should. Do it. Maybe we should. Will says, Scott says, no, I didn't. Scott, you don't have to reveal the exact location. I just meant, what store did you buy it from? I'm not going to read that out. Will, he says FIFA card attack. Yeah, same as me, Will. Callie as well is back in the chat. The only thing I vividly remember is opening GTA 5 box, unfolding the map, questioning who put it on their walls, and struggling to fold it back.
That would always don't ever unfold any video game map, because you never get back in there. Never.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like, do you remember the did you ever go on a geography trip at school and you had the map that showed you like how tall mountains were and things? the what does it start with? The ONS map or something? Am I beating around the wrong bush here?
I have
Did you ever
no
have
idea what you're
okay.
talking
Yeah,
about.
sorry, Nathan, you're flying
Okay,
solo on
I'm
this
gonna-
one.
yeah. But
Yeah.
that was like a folding map, and then if you unfold it, it's just no chance.
man.
That's very niche though. Please let me know in the chat if you know if I'm
Googling
talking rubbish.
ONS map.
Yeah. William, our producer, is also that Battlefield Middle Earth came with a map that I put on my wall. Yeah, exactly. Like we're not gonna get that.
Getting those posters.
cry.
I remember one of the Mario games I got on the Nintendo Wii came with a poster, and it wasn't very
Yeah.
big, but it was
Yeah.
still like it was a poster, and I like put it on my
Yeah.
wall, and my mum was like, "What is this?" And it was like bright red, obviously, and my
Yeah.
mum was like, "What's this hideous poster doing on our wall?" And I was just like, I'm never gonna have that anymore. Like I'm never gonna
Yeah.
just get if I want to
Yeah.
have a poster with a game now, then I have to buy like a deluxe edition or
Separately.
a collector's
Yeah,
edition or
yeah.
something like that. And it's like games used to just come with these little things. They used to just have them, you know.
So
I'm-
Oh
like,
yeah,
I
go
still-
on, guys, show off your stuff. then.
So I've just realised that I've got a 48-hour trial for Xbox Live Gold that I never redeemed.
I'll
There
click
you
some
go.
screenshot
So-
and take the code.
So
Yeah.
if I put the code in if I put the code in, if this works for anyone, be my guest. That is the code there.
Bloody hell.
There we
I don't
go,
even know.
giveaway time.
Yeah,
See if that works. We're giving away an Xbox Live Gold 48-hour trial membership that I've
That
not
may
given-
or may not
Only
be
the
expired.
finest.
Why is Mark Zuckerberg in the corner as well?
There he is. Oh
There
my
he
God.
is. That actually looks better than his metaverse.
And the metaverse. Yeah,
Yeah.
it really
It
does. Not has changed.
There's also an exclusive gamer picks for Modern Warfare 2 as well.
Gamer
Does
pick.
anyone want exclusive gamer picks? Here's the
That
here's
sounds
the
so
code.
shady.
Here's the
Come
code.
round mine, we'll get some
Ah.
exclusive
I know.
gamer
But
picks.
the most important thing I wanted to show you was the manual.
A
Yeah,
manual.
just the manual. The manual was so cool.
It showed you like obviously it showed you all the buttons and stuff.
Yeah.
And it showed you the hood as well. Like
Sometimes
explain the
there was
hood.
like the cheat codes at the back of it, right? For some games, and it'd have like you could just sit there going through all your cheat codes.
You know
and,
what,
like,
Jasmine? There is
press them all.
literally a link to demo
There you go.
tips and tips.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Activision.com. I wonder if that still works, that website. I don't know. But let me know in the comments if you got any of the Adam L. Kev or Nathan might be breaking some gambling laws with this giveaway. How would I be breaking gambling
Well,
laws?
we're not asking for money.
We're not saying yeah, exactly. It's yours. If you redeem it,
It's yours if
I'm
it's not
giving it
expired
away.
already.
yeah, exactly. But just look. I mean, I remember as well. I mean, we're going way off topic here, but I remember like having to look at the back of the box to see how many players I could play with as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. I had to always do that. My mum always said you can't get it if you can't play it with your sister. And it was like that
Exactly.
little Wii remote icon with a number 1 or a number 2 on it
Yeah.
or whatever. Oh, and
Amazing.
now I have to Google it. Come on, devastated.
Yeah, you have to rely on people like us to do guides for you to do that. Adam as well said Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow with all the item locations. Oh man, do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, what a time! What a time to be alive. Talking of time to be alive, what a time to be alive for the release of I always get this wrong. Star
Go
Wars Jedi: Survivor. Which is out. It's out tomorrow, I believe. Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong.
Friday.
Friday.
So
yeah.
2 days. Yeah.
But the review embargo lifted today at 4 p.m., which we've passed now, so we can talk about freely. Aaron, this is straight from Adam's. Adam, sorry, I'm getting Adam confused with Aaron now. In Aaron's review for The Mirror, which is mirror.co.uk/gaming, you can go and have a read of it now. He says, Respawn proves its mastery of the famous galaxy yet again, with Star Wars Jedi Survivor improving on the original game in almost every way. You gave it a 5 out of 5 for us, which is top marks. Aaron, why is it so good? Fill us in.
So, I have a love-hate relationship with Star Wars. I don't know about anybody else, but if anybody were to ask if I was a Star Wars fan, it would always like stump me as of late, because I feel like there's generally more bad Star Wars films than there are good ones probably out there now. And obviously, since Disney sort of purchased the license, they've sort of expanded, the IP into TV shows, board games, and obviously video games as well, even though those things previously existed. But Nathan, the reason why this game is so good is because it makes me feel alive as a gamer again. There's no There's no microtransactions. It's a single player focused, narrative based action adventure game where you get to play as a badass Jedi. And obviously, Respawn already pulled off this trick back in 2019 when it debuted Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. But I said to you previously off the pod, or I said to someone off the pod previously, that whereas that game, it was perfectly, I would say it's a good game. It was like a good 7 out of 10, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. But then there were points in that game where you were meant to be this, powerful Jedi Padawan that was on the run from the Empire. And yet, 10 hours into the game, you were learning how to do basic maneuvers like force pull, force push, double jump. Not very exciting within the context of a AAA game. Well, Star Wars Jedi Survivor basically starts you off with all of the powers that you'd gained towards the end of the last game and just amps everything else up to 11. There's more lightsaber stances you can deploy, more customization options for Cal, more worlds to explore that are more in depth. And honestly, the whole world planet exploration thing was the thing I was worried about most, because there's nothing more than I hate in open world games than when I get overwhelmed. There's so many places to go, so many things to do, and so many things to see. That's part of the reason why Tears of the Kingdom, I'm perfectly happy just to enjoy it in my own time, separately from the hype, and just chip away at it. And Star Wars Jedi Survivor doesn't suffer from any of that, because even if a planet at first, you see all of these multiple pathways, and you've got so many places you can go, it does a great job at dishing out different powers to you, different narrative reasons to explore different places across the galaxy. And basically, whether you're talking about mechanics, character development, combat, Star Wars Jedi Survivor is one of the best Star Wars games I think I've ever played, and hence why it got my full 5 stars. The second 5-star rating I've given this year, 2023, I think does have the potential of being one of the best years of gaming ever. Plain and simple. Oh, I think you're muted, Nathan. He's lost in the nostalgia, everyone.
I am. I'm still trying to relive the old days. No, I was just going to say I'm really excited to take a look at this game tomorrow when we see it for the first time. There's going to be an upcoming first look stream tomorrow on the playthrough. So 4 p.m. BST, I believe we're going to go live with a bit of gameplay. Really looking forward to that. I'm with you. I think Star Wars has been a bit of a love-hate for me as well. Obviously loved it as a kid with the original films, and then the follow-up films.
The prequel trilogy, yeah.
I liked them as a kid, but then watching them as an adult, I was just like, And then obviously with the reboot and everything, yeah, kind of killed it for me. But then there has been like really, really good things like Andor come out, and the Mandalorian, which are kind of spin-offs as well, which I've really enjoyed as well. But Star Wars, I think the last Star Wars game that I enjoyed was Battlefront 2. Back in the day.
What, PS2 version Battlefront 2?
Xbox.
Yeah.
Xbox.
Oh, okay, my mistake. Yeah.
Just a magic, magic time. So yeah, I mean, could this be the first Star Wars game I play for a while? Yeah, might well be. Jasmine, where do you stand on Star Wars? Are you a Star Warser, or are you a Trekkie, or where?
I am not into either Star Wars or Star Trek.
What do you mean? You've got to be into one.
I'm sorry, I'm just not.
It's a rule,
into
isn't
either.
it? It's a live rule. You have to be one or the other now.
Give me a few weeks to do my homework, and I'll come back to you with an answer.
We've set you a lot of homework this week, but yeah.
You have, yeah.
But I will say one thing that's always really like nerve-wracking about games like this coming out is that it's so easy for people who are big fans of the franchise to just be like, yeah, this is a 5 out of 5 amazing game of the year contender. So I think hearing Aaron actually talk about what aspects of the game he enjoyed other than it just being Star Wars is like refreshing to hear. And I know it's not the case with like everyone, obviously, but I just think a lot of people get lost in the sort of like, because it has got a really big cult following, they get lost in that aspect of it of like, oh yeah, I love Star Wars so much, so this game is going to be perfect, and that's just not the case all the time.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that's my perspective on it.
Yeah, we've got some really good comments in the chat. Thank you so much for everyone getting involved in the chat. Callie says, me checking Wee Princess and the Frog to see if I could play with Jasmine. Memories there for us all. JD, I wasn't a Star Wars fan as a kid, but these days I think it's cool. Just can't get into it too deeply. Callie says, I've only ever been interested in Star Wars if it's Lego or the Wii game that came with the lightsaber controller attachment.
I did play Lego Star Wars.
Yeah.
I did Lego Star Wars.
Who didn't?
That was
Come on now.
Yeah,
If you played that, you played every Lego game.
yeah.
Basically, Sabrina as well is in the chat. Hi, Sabrina. Thanks for joining us. Star Wars Masters of Terras Cassie, best Star Wars game. I haven't played that, Aaron.
So that is like it's kind of like a Tekken game. It's like a fighting game where basically Terra's Cassie is this Star Wars universe of like jiu-jitsu or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Mad.
That
mad
sounds
dick.
like up my alley. That sounds right up my alley.
There you go. Mirror gaming
That's
stream.
going to get me into the Star Wars franchise.
Yeah.
Adam said, "What? The prequels are like fine wine, only get better with age."
I stand by Episode 3 being not a bad film. I will say of
Right,
the three,
okay.
and that's the one obviously where Anakin falls to the dark side fully. It goes to some dark places, but yeah, overall.
Can I just talk about? This is going to hit, but you know when Obi-Wan says that he's got the high ground, right?
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Anakin's a Jedi, Matt. Like he can jump.
Yeah.
That
Yeah, I
ruins it
know,
for me.
right?
But he does
What are
jump
you
though, and that's
doing?
what ends up costing him.
No, I know, but like, come on, man. Like a little bit. Basically, Anakin turned into Darth Vader because he couldn't get up a hill.
Yeah, it's true.
So I'm kind of with you on 3 being the best one, but like Jar Jar Binks, just the amount of time, the amount of screen time that character got.
Well, it was less and
Just
less
so
as the
bad.
movies went on.
Yeah,
so.
I know there was a but even that was too much.
Yeah.
Definitely. So Adam hard disagree, but you know we're all have our own opinions on it. Sabrina as well is in the chat again. Watching Clone Wars makes the prequels better, honestly. Okay, yeah, I haven't seen Clone Wars, but yeah, if it does, then thank you. I might have a watch of it. Will says the Battlefront games. Oh my god, yeah, exactly. Will nostalgia. 100%. JD says, I still feel Hi-Fi Rush is my game of the year at the moment. Interesting. Resident Evil 4 Remake, a close second. Yeah, that's obviously Aaron reviewed that for us as well. Amazing game as well that he said. Kawaii Kishu as well is in the chat again. The only Star Wars I've experienced is the Journey to Batuu Sims expansion.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah, that looks like fun.
That's pretty cool.
That's like me with Fortnite. That's the only Star Wars I'll experience. Is the new Fortnite collab coming out.
Yeah.
Can I just say we're missing out on Master Chief being in Warzone, but the Activision Blizzard Microsoft deal.
That could still happen.
That's it. I mean, yeah, it could still happen, I suppose. Will said this season of Mando is so bad. Oh, don't say that. I've been really wanting to catch up on that.
I thought it was good.
Okay, I haven't watched it yet, but yeah, I'll have to see what you thought of that. Adam as well. As someone who spent literal weeks of my youth fighting my friends with toy lightsabers, I can confirm the high ground is overrated. Yeah, if only someone told Anakin that, then we wouldn't have had all the films after it. We wouldn't have Darth Vader. So yeah, I thought they could have done it better. That's all I'm saying. In regards to Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Aaron, when it comes out Friday on all platforms?
Yeah, so it comes out on Friday, and interestingly, it's only PS5 and Xbox Series X and PC. So this is pretty much one of the few examples of a third-party release that isn't cross-gen, that's sort of leaving PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One generation behind. And just before we went live, I was looking at some other people's reviews, and they pick up on the same issues that I had. That the one flaw that I had with Star Wars Jedi Survivor is that from a technical perspective, some of the planets that you get to explore are so huge and so ambitious that playing in the performance mode, which obviously is aiming to run at a steady 60 frames per second, something Redfall apparently can't do at launch. During the like heavy moments when you go from ground to air, or some cinematic spectacle engages, or there, it can chug a little bit. But having said that, I think it's still a really beautiful looking game. And if you've got a PlayStation 5 or if you've got an Xbox Series X, then you owe it to yourself to play one of the best games of this year. Scott actually reviewed Resident Evil 4 for us, but I have played it through twice. I would have given that game a 5-star as well. And I want to promise everybody that I don't give out 5 stars willy-nilly, but Dead Space I would have given a 5. Well, I did give it a 5. Resi 4 I would have given a 5, and now this I've given a 5. Metroid Prime Remastered, that came out. I know that's also in some people's Game of the Year conversations. I think by nature of it being like a remaster, it's kind of like unfair ground. But I think like with these 3 games out now on just on the AAA level, with Tears of the Kingdom still to come, I like what I played from the Diablo 4 beta, and then we got Final Fantasy 16 after that. I really feel like this generation is finally starting to come into its own from a AAA level. Like, it's been promises, and now we're finally starting to see the fruits of everyone's labor. So it's really good. Spider-Man 2 later this year as well.
Yeah, the new Call of Duty 2023, EA
Well,
Sports FC 24 later on this year, F1 23,
One is up first.
Call of Duty 2023. We don't know what it's going to call it. There will be
Yeah.
one. It's
Sorry.
just what it's going
if it's a Black Ops game, I'll play it. I like the Black Ops games.
Yeah. But on that, you talked about it being only on the current gen consoles rather than the old gen consoles. Do you think that had an impact on how successful it was in developing the game and how good it looks? Because I've seen some people talk about how the fact that these publishers are having to make games for the old gen consoles are kind of holding them back from development time that they could spend on, otherwise optimizing the game. Do you think that's a fair criticism?
I think it's fair because obviously I feel like it's a lot of SKUs to make. Like, with PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4, that's 2 SKUs there. Then you've got to do the same for Series X and Xbox One, then PC, potentially if your game's on Switch. It's just a lot to handle. So what I would say is that Star Wars Jedi Survivor, it is built on using Unreal Engine 4 still, because it entered development before Unreal Engine 5 was released and widely available. So because of that, I feel like that's part of the reason why it's still struggling technically, but you can sense the ambition from the team in everything that it tries to do. And when I played God of War Ragnarok last year, obviously that was a PS4 and PS5 game. It ran as smooth as butter, as you'd expect from a first-party PlayStation game. And that was a particular dig towards Scott, if he's still in the chat, by the way. But a thing that game did was obviously Kratos was still sliding his way through cracks in the wall. Like, that was a way for developers to like hide the loads and stuff like that. And unfortunately, I think as a result of Unreal Engine 4 still being used for Star Wars Jedi Survivor, there's still those moments where Cal has to sort of like, move in. Sometimes you're waiting for elevators. There's a particular diner that you'll go to on one of the first planets you explore, which ends up being your base planet, Cabal, I believe it's called, or Cobol. And there's basically a diner there. And literally every time you go to enter it, I'd say there's probably about a 10-second wait where you're being analyzed in front of the door. So for as much as this sort of wants to take advantage of current gen hardware, I don't think we've fully seen the capabilities of the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X yet, but it's like a step in the right direction. And honestly, like, the big new feature for this game, as well as the customization options for Cal, are the fact that there's 5 new lightsaber stances. Well, not 5 new ones, but 5 in total, 2 of which are new. So in the first game, you obviously got the standard lightsaber swing, and then you've also got the double lightsaber swing, which is the Darth Maul sort of stance. Then you also had the fact that you could dual wield and take those apart. But now Survivor introduces both the crossguard heavy stance, which is something that you'd see Kylo Ren use from the sequel trilogy. And basically how that differs from the standard lightsaber swing is that your attacks are a lot more heavy and you're able to deal out a lot more damage. But of course, it opens you up to attacks because your movements are a lot slower. And then the second new lightsaber stance, which is the one I ended up preferring over the new crossguard one, is the blaster and lightsaber combo. And leading up to the release of Star Wars Jedi Survivor, a lot of fans were kind of like, oh, I don't know, a Jedi using a blaster? Are they going to get away with this? But fortunately, obviously, this is set in between the events of Episode 3 and Episode 4, 5 years after the first game. So we're sort of in that period where, Jedi are on the run. They're not really technically meant to exist. And Cal sort of justifies it to himself by saying, like, anything to stop the Empire at all cost. And he picks up that gun. And it works really well in terms of like letting you deal damage up close with your lightsaber, but also just peppering shots so you can damage their block, so you can go up to them and sort of, yeah. So if it isn't evident already, like from a technical perspective, is this the most sort of, I don't know, detailed and minute? Is this the Elden Ring of Star Wars games in terms of like what's asked of you in terms of combat? Probably not, even though those Dark Soul elements from the first game still are there. Enemies regenerate at meditation points and you have to regain your XP if you die upon death. But I'd say this is, if anything, this is much more approachable than the first Star Wars game. And whereas before it felt like with Fallen Order, Disney or LucasArts, whoever it was at the time, very much had their leash on Respawn. Because let's not forget, like a third-person action game with melee-focused combat, this is unlike anything that Respawn had tackled before. The guys behind Titanfall, Apex Legends. And now with this second game, I feel like Disney have completely just let go of the leash, said, do what you want, we trust you, go and make the best Jedi game you can. And I believe they did it, hence why it got my 5 stars again. Yeah.
Big up Respawn. Big up.
Yeah, I don't... Honestly, man, they're putting other studios to shame. Like, studios work hard, obviously. Getting any AAA game out is literally a miracle. But when you've got Microsoft, not to bring it back again, but it sort of ties into the first story, they own all these first-party studios, the Initiative, the Coalition that can't release a game, on a consistent basis despite having the financial backing, and then you've got Respawn, which is owned by Electronic Arts, but they're constantly providing updates for Apex Legends. Apparently, they've got another form of Titanfall game in the works. Honestly, absolute heroes. Absolute heroes.
Can I ask about the diner? Is the diner music playing? The iconic diner?
It is not. Careful, we don't want to get copyright.
Sorry,
Nathan. That was very close. Yeah.
It's point that was.
It's not that diner music, unfortunately. But there's a lot of Easter eggs in the game. I wouldn't surprise if it's in there somewhere. Yeah.
Cool. That's really interesting. Do you have to be a Star Wars fan to pick it up, or do you think you can just, or do you need to know what the lore is? It something what you need to know? I'm just asking for a friend.
No, it's a good question. I think I finished off my review by saying, this is verbatim: if you love Star Wars, or even if you don't, you'd be remiss to deny yourself one of the best games of 2023 so far. And I think for the most part, that's true. If you just want to go in, enjoy a great story about empathetic characters and explore some cool alien worlds, you can. It helps that there's a massive recap cutscene that is pretty epic that plays before, and you can access it anytime from the menu. But if people were to ask me, should I jump straight into this one or should I play Fallen Order first? I'd say play this first because it's the smoother experience. You won't get every reference or appreciate every story element, but and it might make going back to Fallen Order a bit awkward to go back to, but there's so much game here that, I'd just say go in and enjoy the latest, newest, and best. Callie in the chat, I will pick up on that. Callie says, is the scream in there? And I think what they mean by that is the famous Wilhelm scream, which is the whoa, that's used in many movies and a lot of Star Wars movies. Whoa! It's more like it. Nothing like it. But I have been.
Is it more of a like that?
That's it. Yeah.
Oh god.
Ah!
Oh my god.
Do you not know that scream, Jasmine?
No. It sounds like you guys are just making noises.
Wouldn't you hear it? It's in pretty much every film. It's mad how
funny
common
enough,
it is.
I think it was about 2 weeks ago. Somebody actually tracked down the source of the original scream, and
really?
it was known as man being attacked by alligator. So they basically went to a Foley stage, and that's the kind of description they gave the actor, and that's what he came up with.
Cool. Callie says, Jasmine, bit of a mic issue. I just think she wasn't speaking. I don't know.
No, I'm sorry, I had no input on the Star Wars discussion. Sorry.
And JD says, Respawn do a fantastic job with their games. Yeah, that's exactly what Aaron said. It'd be interesting to see what they do with Titanfall, which is such an interesting series as well of games. And then Callie, this might be an in joke or something, but
no, I know what this is.
Jasmine, fake Lego fan.
In Lego Star Wars, that scream is in it throughout.
Right, okay.
Is
I
it?
feel like every time R2D2 flies off of a platform or something, it might happen.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what.
Maybe I just wasn't paying enough attention, because clearly you guys know exactly what games this screen is in. You're paying so much attention to it. Maybe I'm just enjoying the game for what it is and not sitting there listening out for this one sound effect to reoccur a bunch of times.
Go on YouTube now and have a see.
Do it now, Jasmine.
Yeah, live. I want your mind to be blown about
what should I search?
Aaron, how do you spell it?
Wilhelm scream. If somebody in the chat could type it, I'll type it in our chat actually.
Callie says, I used to jump off just to hear the scream, so that's how common it is. But let's see Jasmine's live reaction. How often have you heard this scream?
Are you bringing it up, Jasmine? This is very professional.
Watch Mojo has done a top 10 Wilhelm screams.
Oh, there you go.
Compilation.
There you go.
Apparently, it was in Toy Story.
Oh yeah, it's in loads of films.
If you want just the scream, I can send you the 3-second link to it. Oh no!
I've never heard that before. Well, I probably have, but I haven't taken note of the fact that I've
processed
heard that before.
it.
Yeah,
just
no,
it's
not familiar enough that it's ingrained in my brain.
Every now and then I'll watch a film and I'll be like, "That's the scream again." Honestly,
it's kind of like an in-joke amongst just everyone who makes films. There must be hundreds more scream sound effects they could use.
I don't make films. I'm so sorry. I'm not part
no,
of
but you watch
joke.
films, do you not?
Not really, no.
Adam,
coming
Adam and Callie are also in the chat again. Adam said, really good point. Jasmine is too young to understand it. Probably that's probably what the issue is.
Oh,
Callie
there we
says,
go.
I'm younger than Jasmine. Surely she knows it. Apparently not, Callie. Apparently not.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Yeah,
I like how that we didn't say anything about your age then, Jasmine. That was
didn't.
totally the commenters that were ripping into
Yeah,
how
absolutely.
There we
young
go.
you are.
Oh, Jasmine was born in 2001. Ha ha ha. Yeah, come on. Come on.
But there is something that Jasmine really understands, as she understands gaming hardware.
These segues are terrible.
I thought that was good.
What?
Thank you, Aaron. The Asus ROG Ally. I'm thinking about Horizon Forbidden West. The Asus ROG Ally specs have been revealed. Mirror Game were invited to a preview event of the Asus ROG Ally, which is the Steam Deck competitor, the gaming handheld PC, which they give us a few details. We've done a video on it on the Mirror Gaming YouTube channel, which you can go and check out, which Jasmine has done a fantastic video of. You can go and check that out now. But basically, we know a little bit more about the Ally. We didn't know it was real. April Fools, we thought it was an April Fool's joke. We talked about it on the pod. It wasn't. We were a bit like, what is this going on? And then now it's like almost nearly here, which is mad, like a month later. What do we know about the ROG Ally that we didn't before? What's new?
So the main sort of thing that we saw in the preview was the actual specifications of the device itself. So we found out that it's going to have an AMD Ryzen Z1 / AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme processor. So they did show off both of those processors, which hopefully means there are going to be two different versions of the device, sort of like maybe a mid-range one and then like a more powerful one or something like that. We know that it's going to be running on Windows 11. That's a really big point. Remember that, everyone. It's going to be running in Windows 11. 16 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM. Oh, yep, there's my video.
You can watch it live now on the Mirror Gaming YouTube channel.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry, is that off-putting? Sorry.
No, it's fine. I love staring at my own face while I'm talking. It's also going to have a 512 gigabyte PCIe Gen 4 SSD, which is similar to what is in the Steam Deck as well. And it has a micro SD slot for expansion, which is weird because that's what's in the Nintendo Switch, and that's what everyone complains about. Oh my god, if you put games onto a micro SD card, they're going to be really slow. But apparently that's not going to be the case. I don't know what on earth Asus have managed to do to fix that, but apparently that's not going to be the case. A 120 hertz screen, 1080p,
That's
better than the
big.
Steam Deck.
That's big.
Better than the Steam Deck. And dual front-facing speakers. I'm not going to say what they're powered by because I can't pronounce it correctly. So,
What, Dolby Atmos?
yeah. So overall, based on specifications alone, this device is going to be really up there. It's going to sort of beat out the Steam Deck, but the one thing we don't know about it is how much it's going to cost.
Yes.
So that's the big question here: is if it comes out at like triple the cost of the Steam Deck, does it really matter if it's better? Does it? Because I don't want to spend over $1,000 on a handheld device, you know?
Especially when you can buy a very decent gaming PC for $1,000 nowadays.
Yeah.
With a very good graphics card, a very good CPU that can play, games at 1080p, like over 200 frames a second quite easily, as well.
I know that both of you guys have Steam Decks, right?
Yes.
So, there we go.
Do the obligatory
Both of you guys have Steam Decks.
Steam Deck dance.
Do you think you
where's
would
the
pick
ROG
up...
Alloy, Jasmine? Have you got it? I keep calling it an alloy. Why do I keep calling it an alloy? Oh, there we go. He's showing off the full one.
No, I have a G Cloud that I'm not allowed to show because that's under embargo, and I have a Nintendo Switch here.
You didn't have to say that.
No, it's out already. I just can't show it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's out already. I just can't show it.
Tease.
And then I've got a Nintendo Switch. This is my Asus ROG Ally.
Nice.
So, would you upgrade? What do you think based on these specs?
I mean, of course I would, because it's capable of running my favorite service, Xbox Game Pass, if it can run Windows 11. I feel like that's going to be
Yeah.
a lot of the appeal for most people, right?
Well, that's
yeah,
the thing,
it can
isn't
run
Yeah.
any. It can run any gaming client that you can run on a standard gaming PC, which is something that the Steam Deck can't do.
Yeah.
Steam Deck runs on Linux, doesn't it?
Yeah, it runs Steam OS on Linux. Yeah. So Windows 11. I don't know if it means it's going to have a lot of productivity features as well, like being able to sort of like browse on the internet, check your emails, write emails or whatever. Maybe you could run, I don't know how powerful it's going to be. Maybe you could run Photoshop. I don't know who's going to be using Photoshop on a little handheld console, but if you wanted to, you could. Or editing videos, stuff like that. If it can run Windows 11, I can't see why it wouldn't be able to do that. So that could be interesting. And I feel like this takes the ROG Ally from being just like a handheld device to actually being a portable gaming PC, as what people try to refer to the Steam Deck as. I just don't think the Steam Deck is a portable gaming PC. I don't see it as like that at all.
Can I ask you a question, Jasmine?
Yeah.
Because obviously a large part of the appeal with the Steam Deck is the ability to play Steam games on the go. And I feel like because the Steam Deck is the product of Valve itself, like it comes from the store owner, I thought they were very good with what they did with their OS options in terms of like they created a custom layout for the store and like, you know, user UI that really, I've always said to people, like if you want to play, you know, PS3 sort of 360 era games or like recent indies that come out on the go and they're not available on Switch, then it's only mad people like Nathan that tries playing Elden Ring on the Steam Deck. He must get like 40 minutes worth of playtime out of it. But the battery life is a separate issue. I've always said that yeah.
But that just means the on the go purpose.
Yeah.
Play it
the Steam
plugged in.
Deck sort of like solves that issue. Whereas I feel like because this is coming from, is it ASOS?
Asus.
Oh, Asus.
Asus.
I beg your pardon.
Asus.
Something's a bit sus about Asus. No. Do you think, have they said anything about like, here is like, obviously it can run any client you want, but wouldn't that then require the owners and makers of those clients to sort of, you know, retrofit it, a version of it for the Ally?
that is a big question that I have for when the device is actually going to be out, is how optimized the games will be, because that was even an issue with the Steam Deck, is that you could access any game that was on Steam, but whether or not the game was optimized was like a whole different thing, right? You can access them, but whether it's playable is like luck of the draw. So I think that it does kind of again limit the ability that a lot of indie game developers are going to have to be able to sort of optimize their game for this very brand new random product. Like optimizing a game for a whole console, optimizing a game for a whole platform makes sense. Having to then further optimize your game to run on Windows, but on a handheld edition of a Windows computer, it's like I just don't see it being realistic for a lot of titles.
Unless there's a version for like like let's say indie devs, they're like, okay, here's the Steam Deck version. What do we have to do to get it on?
Potentially, that's what I'm hoping to see, because otherwise, it just kind of will be, I don't know, because even in that case, it's like it's just going to be another Steam Deck, right? It's just going to be like it's going to have the same list of optimized games, and then it's probably going to be more expensive than the Steam Deck. So then it just makes more sense to get the Steam Deck. And like another thing, like this is a very small thing that popped into my head, but you know they talk about how it's going to have touchscreen, and that's kind of like, well, when are you ever going to use touchscreen when you're playing a PC game? That's like just not really going to
Windows
happen.
tried that with Windows 8, didn't they? Remember
Yeah,
when they did the
yeah,
Windows
they
8
did.
touchscreen, and no one did touchscreen stuff.
Yeah, I had a touchscreen computer, Windows 8 touchscreen computer, and I think I used the touchscreen like twice.
Yeah.
Point and click adventure games is the only thing I can think of that it might come in handy, where you tap and then your character will like walk and you can interact with things that way.
Maybe.
But then again, if that's not built into the game, because you know developers aren't doing, unless there's a way for like the touch screen to mimic the functions of the mouse, I'm not sure.
Yeah, what's really interesting to me is looking at these images. If it's at a decent price and it's twice the power of a Steam Deck, if you do want a PC, but you're half at home, half out, and you want something that's portable, the fact that you can plug it in and it's a PC,
yeah,
that's a big draw.
I wonder where they got that idea from. Yeah.
It's revolutionary.
You can get
Absolutely revolutionary.
you can get docks obviously the same way you can with the Steam Deck to
Yes.
use like peripherals and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
So I think the thing is that with the Steam Deck is that the output that the Steam Deck has makes it like a supplemental option rather than like a primary gaming console, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You guys are welcome to fight me on that, but in my opinion, that's what I believe. So I think given the power that Asus are promising, if the ROG Ally actually lives up to that, then it could be like a main platform for so many gamers, and it could be like a bit of an easier way for people to access PC gaming, which is something that is really intimidating for a lot of people because they're worried about buying pre-builds because they're really expensive. They're worried about building the computer themselves because obviously it is an intimidating task, and some people just don't want to get like a laptop because the performance of a laptop isn't really like up there compared to a lot of PCs. So
But
this
can you
could
just
be like a
subtweet
nice
me
option.
next? Can you just tag me in your subtweet next time, Jasmine, when it comes to mirror game, when it comes to laptops, please? Appreciate that.
Yeah. Adam's in the comments as well. Forgive my ignorance. If it's Windows, is it not just a tablet with buttons?
Well, we don't know that yet. We haven't had a hands-on yet, and that is something that is a bit like worrying.
Yeah.
But
But I mean, tablets don't have GPUs, right?
it doesn't have a GPU. It has a one singular APU, which is the CPU and GPU in one.
Yeah, but a tablet would just have like an Apple chip, wouldn't it? Which is just a
Yeah.
CPU.
Yeah.
Which is that's what I was getting at. Just
Yeah,
it's got,
but
like,
even
graphical
the chip though, it has like inbuilt graphics, right?
But yeah.
So
yeah.
this is kind of the same thing. Who knows? I don't want to like say that
Yeah.
it's going to be the best thing in the world because I haven't used it yet.
Yeah.
So who knows? It could end up just being like this amazing promise that they've made, and then you actually hold it in your hands, and it is like using an iPad.
Yeah. Aaron, what would make you buy it at this point?
I get an I more so than Steam. Before I got the Steam Deck, I would use the Epic Games Store because they have like some sales that are different there, and certain games, it doesn't happen so much these days, do release exclusively on the Epic Games Store. So I feel like that is the core appeal to me, is the ability to use multiple storefronts and apps, not just one. So that's why, like with the touchscreen conversation, yeah, it'd probably be nice. But obviously, anybody that's got a portable device knows that, fingerprints are, something to be avoided at all costs. So that's not something that worries me. So yeah, I definitely consider it. It does come down to price though, at the end of the day. And I feel like the fact that they aren't talking about it, they're not even talking about when it comes out, because this is the thing now. I feel like the major challenge that any Steam Deck killer or competitor to the Steam Deck has to face is that if you're not going to be first, then you have to be the best. And Steam Deck was first, and not only was it first, but it was very quickly welcomed in the hearts of minds of players, and not just like devout PC players or people that want a second way to play their PC games either, but like casual players that have been hearing so much about this amazing indie scene happening all over at Steam, but could never afford obviously a gaming PC setup for them. Get my words out by themselves. So I feel like the price is a major factor, and obviously similar to what we were saying about Microsoft earlier, Valve is a big company, they can afford to eat the cost. But now that they've got everybody with the Steam Deck, it's permeated so much, and for ASOS to kind of like chip away at that even a little bit, I think for the vast majority of people, even though multiple storefronts allowing access to that would be better for me, I think for a lot of people you're going to need a lot more. And I don't know if 120 hertz, well, to people that are informed, it's a sexy statistic. For a lot of people, they're going to be like, well, what does that mean? 120 hertz.
Yeah.
And another thing is that why hasn't this thing got an OLED screen as well? Because every time I move from my Nintendo Switch OLED to Steam Deck, I do have to like process for a second.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I didn't know ASOS stopped selling clothes and started making hardware. That's interesting development.
Don't even start with me, man. Come on now. Who was around first? ASOS or Asus? I don't know. And then you've got Acer. What's going on with these company names?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're really confusing. I'll let you off there.
Yeah.
I think the thing is, I do kind of get where Aaron's coming from in the sense that, if you're not first, you have to be the best. But even if it is the best, I still feel like it might be too little too late, in the sense that if a lot of people have a Steam Deck now, which is sort of the case. A lot of people have Steam Decks because they've become a lot more accessible now. They're not facing as many stock issues.
And they're
People
cheap.
Yeah, they're like less than 500 quid. You can get the like base model that doesn't have an SSD in it for literally like £359, I think. So that's really cheap compared to a like PC. Even sort of like that sort of coming into sort of Nintendo Switch territory. So loads of people probably have them now, even if the Asus ROG Ally comes out and it's amazing and it's the best handheld gaming PC on the market. People just aren't gonna get rid of their Steam Decks and replace them when they don't need to, especially if they're content with it. If it's getting the job done. You know, most people don't play Elden Ring on their Steam Decks because they're not literally insane. So, you know,
if Asus came out and said, right, Elden Ring minimum 5-hour playtime on the Ally, then in terms of Elden Ring specifically, I mean, like I feel like that would be enough to like sway. That's a good benchmark.
Yeah,
but...
I think
Sorry
the thing. I think the thing for me would be price would be a huge factor. Battery life is a huge factor. Cooling, because the Steam Deck, I don't know, Aaron, if you tried to play Elden Ring, it chugs. It's like Thomas the Tank Engine. It blows.
We actually do have information on the cooling. They've used like a cooling medium which is 3D, which means that no matter how you're holding the console, you can hold it upside down, and it will still cool just as effectively.
That's cool. Yeah.
And the back base of the cooling isn't actually attached to the back base of the frame of the console, whatever it's called, like the casing of it. So when you're holding it in your hands, it's not going to feel hot, is what they've claimed. I don't know how realistic that is, given how small the device is obviously going to be. Realistically, even if the cooling system isn't touching the plastic casing, that doesn't mean that heat transfer isn't going to happen. But they have said that. They've said you can hold it in your hands and it can get really hot and your hands aren't going to get warm.
That
sounds
cool.
too good to be true.
That's really cool, Jasmine.
Thanks for that, Nathan. That was a really good joke.
I said that earlier and no one got it, so I thought I'd just repeat it. Just so
ignoring that dad joke and moving swiftly on. I would say like the heating thing. I don't know about you, Nathan, but it's not really an issue for me. Like sometimes it could get hot and
because you don't play Elden Ring on your Steam Deck because you're not insane.
I'm trying to think what the most graphically intense game I played on my Steam Deck. It might have been something like, because basically in advance of Jedi Survivor coming out, Fallen Order was on sale there, so I did play the first couple of hours of that, and it seemed to struggle, which is weird because I don't know if you remember, but when Steam Deck came out, Fallen Order and I believe The Witcher 3, it was like one of the games that they were promoting, like, oh, look at this game, it runs portably in your hands. So that was quite cool. So the fact that it's still struggling to run that game on sort of like mid settings is a bit concerning. But in terms of my experience with the Steam Deck and the heating problem specifically, is that it doesn't really matter how graphically intense it is. It just depends on how well optimized it is for the Steam Deck. Because I've played like, you know, full 3D AAA games on there, and I might not have gotten like a lot of playtime out of it, but I'd say it's kept cool. And then all of a sudden you'll put a game on there from like 5 years ago that should run on an Xbox 360, and the Steam Deck will be like, oh, what's going on here? I don't know what happened.
I think that's the thing for me that I think Valve got so right with the Steam Deck is that when you think about portable gaming, no one cares how it looks. Let's be honest. People.
I really care how it looks.
I think
that the Nintendo Switch looks weird as hell, and that's why I don't ever take it outside unless I really have to.
Well, how are you going to feel with the Ally and the RGB, which we haven't even talked about yet?
No, that's what I love. That's what I love.
My point is that, like, Elden Ring looks okay on there, obviously, because it's a 720p screen, the Steam Deck. It doesn't look as good as the 1440p monitor I've got. But I understand that because it's a smaller screen, it's going to look better than it actually is because it's a smaller screen. So the smaller the screen, the less you're going to know the difference. If you talk about a Nintendo Switch versus a Steam Deck, obviously there's a huge difference. But if I'm going to be really interested to see if you put Asus are on about it's double the performance. Fine. But if you put the Ally next to the Steam Deck, does it look twice as good? It is not going to look twice. It's definitely not. I'm just calling it now.
Yeah.
It's not going to look twice as good. And if it's twice the price, but the games don't look, they look marginally better. for me, that's just not. They're not in the right
But
realm.
that's like it's just about the games looking better. That is a big thing. The performance is going to be better, but it's also about having access to Windows 11,
and things,
having access to a bunch of different libraries, and it is also about, even if the screen itself is small and blah blah blah, if you're then using it as an actual computer with a dock, you want the output to be 1080p at least. You can't plug your 720p Steam Deck into a 1080p monitor and it's just going to look weird. It's not going to look nice. So if you are intending to use it as like a actual computer, then that's where that comes in, I think.
The other elephant in the room, which we haven't talked about, is I feel like Asus or ASOS, whatever they're called, I don't know, with their Ally. Are you called ROG? Are you called Asus? What's going on? I sound like such a Luddite or like an old man shouts at cloud.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Asus is the hardware manufacturer, and then ROG, Republic of Gamers, is their kind of gaming division brand.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So it's like
I get you.
I'm struggling.
Asus.
It's like Sony and PlayStation.
I don't know why you keep saying Asus. Asus.
I'm going to say Asus.
I always say
Asus.
Asus. I don't.
It's
I
a
don't know
U.
Dolby Atmos.
Asus.
It sounds better.
Okay, right. Carry on, Aaron, with what you were saying.
Did you almost say Aaron? Oh my god.
No,
pronunciation all over the shop. No, I was going to say that you like Asus. I feel like they feel like, oh, look at us, we're getting the jump on the Steam Deck. We made things that's twice as powerful as the Steam Deck. Guys. Asus, are you out there? Do you mean to tell me that you don't think that Valve are working on a version 2 of the Steam Deck right now that is more powerful, can last longer, and can run games a lot better? Because and I feel like Asus itself probably recognizes that, hence why it's trying to get it out so quickly. Like, they've not mentioned anything yet. Quick, because the Steam Deck is a proven thing and people have a built-in trust factor for Valve because of the Steam Deck. And do you know what the most impressive thing about the Steam Deck is does anybody else remember Steam machines? When Valve tried making their own dedicated PC gaming out of the box devices, like before the Steam Deck, any form, whether it be the Valve controller or the Steam machines, any hardware made by Valve was sent out to die, and the Steam Deck was the one that cracked it. So I feel like they've got every incentive in the world to kind of stick to their guns with the Steam Deck market.
But you'd think that, but the Steam Deck isn't even available worldwide yet. You still can't buy a Steam Deck if you're in Australia. You still can't buy it. So,
right. But is the Ally coming to Australia?
Yes, it is. It will be coming up globally. So I've been told. I don't work.
We just don't know when or how much for.
There's a launch event.
Is it's all coming out now. What are they launching at this event?
It's going to be. No idea when it's going to come out. No idea what the battery
As an investor,
life is.
This is what I love to hear.
But we know it's coming. But this is the thing. It's coming out. There's a global launch event, which infers that it will be launching globally. Hopefully, we can only assume. But the Steam Deck still isn't available in some countries around the world. So for them to be working on a Steam Deck 2, which I don't doubt, I do think they are working on it. If not before, definitely now. But they haven't even brought their original first console to so many different places, and people are having to ship it out through different shipping methods just to get it in their country. I don't know about that.
We've got a couple of comments that I'll read out. JD is back in the chat. I would like a Steam Deck, but it won't make me forget the Vita PSP. Oh, back in the day.
Vita, respect. Where was everyone when the Vita was released?
I've got my PSP here.
Got your PSP? Don't know where my Vita is, but
there we go.
Vita means life.
Look at that bad boy there.
There you go.
I wonder if I've got a disc in it. Hold on.
Yeah, what if you? I think you mean your Universal Media disc.
Oh yeah, of course.
A UMD.
It's empty.
Oh, that was anticlimactic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but just go past that one. Callie, I was thinking that know nothing about Steam Deck, but seems like a glorified Vita to me. Heresy. JD in the chat. I cared about how PSP looked when GTA Liberty City Stories was running on it. Really?
JD, do you mean that because Liberty City
was it bad on the PSP? Is that what you're saying?
No, I feel like that was like Rockstar ported a legit GTA game to a portable console. Like that was a major moment, and it looked pretty much on par with the PS2.
I mean, we can all agree that the Steam Deck launching is sort of a new era. Like the fact that these companies are coming out, like you've got your Asus, you've got potentially Sony with their PlayStation handheld, which is rumored. Logitech have got theirs. Razer, I think, have got their own potentially. I don't know. I'm sure I've seen something, but There seems to be. I find it really exciting when there's like a new product category that comes out and everyone's like kind of trying to up themselves and just show the innovation, and we're just going to get so much excitement through these products.
And who have we got to thank for it? Nintendo.
That is true. Yeah.
They proved the market, man, and it took everybody 5 or so years to catch up. It's wild.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. But it started with the Game Boy, didn't it? The Game
That's
Boy
what I was going to say.
well,
Handheld consoles go way, way back, and just because the PSP didn't do as well as Sony thought it would, I think they just abandoned it all, and a lot of companies used that as like.
The PSP performed well. It was the Vita that let us down a little bit.
Yeah, well, I meant the line of PlayStation Portable, but I think like a lot of companies saw it not performing as well as sort of like the Nintendo DS and stuff, and they were like, okay, maybe this is the death of handheld consoles.
Yeah.
And maybe that was the case. Maybe it just wasn't the right time for handheld consoles. Everyone started getting into actual
mobiles.
Yeah, phones started coming out. People started getting into using actual consoles. I think it probably wasn't the right time, but now people are starting to stray back into that. People are getting busy with their lives again. Yeah. People are actually out and about, and they need something that they can have on the go. It seems like the perfect time for all of these companies to capitalize on that.
I will say, like, I know you take the mick out of me for playing Elden Ring on the Steam Deck, but it's genuinely like revolutionized the experience for me, because I don't have that much time to sit down at my PC and game for a couple of hours at a time. The way my life is just doesn't fit into that. The way it works for me is that I have 20-30 minutes to grab something and play a level or two and then put it back down again. And I was using the Nintendo Switch before, and it was a decent. Obviously, I played Breath of the Wild and completed it and all that kind of stuff. But being able to pick up a AAA game like Elden Ring for 20 minutes and then go through one boss and level up some weapons and then think, okay, what do I need to do now? Get to this place, and then, okay, I've got 10 minutes left. I'll quickly do this and then put it back down again. To be able to do that portably, and then when I get time, I can log onto my PC and pick up where I left off. It's such a magic thing that even a couple of years ago I didn't think would be possible, and now it's possible. For me, that's just the fact you can play Elden Ring like that is incredible. And I think there's probably a lot of people out there like me who don't have the time to sit at a PC and have a gaming session for a couple of hours. They just want to pick something up and play it for half an hour, and that wasn't possible before, and it is possible now. I don't know if that resonates with you, Aaron, the way that you use your Steam Deck.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like for the longest time, like back when I would say like the first generation of handheld consoles, going back to the Game Boy, moving up through the PSP and the Nintendo DS. As a kid, it was like amazing because it just made like car journeys like fly by, and I would take it out if I were to visit my grandparents or anything like that. Like being able to game anywhere before the launch of the iOS App Store and things like that, it was revolutionary. Whereas these days, I'm not too sure if you guys would agree with me, Nathan. It sounds like this is the case for you. Like my Steam Deck and my Nintendo Switch allow me to play anywhere in the house where I want.
Yes.
And it's very rare that I'll actually take it outside. So it's funny that we're having this debate about like, battery life, Asus, like, oh, it looks stupid out in public or whatever. When the thing is that we're all just getting lazier and lazier and lazier, and we like to do multiple things at once because we're constantly being fed by the content machine.
Now that we're adults, when we're going out to places, it's not against our will. Like when I was a kid, I was like going to grandma's house in the back of the car, sitting there thinking, I just want to go home and play on my Xbox. I don't want to be here. So now I'm not obviously, I don't need to be preoccupied with like a device, so I don't scream and shout when I'm at my grandma's house and cause a ruckus. So I think that's more. I think it's less about being lazy. Definitely, am getting lazier, but that's not really what it's about for me anyway.
Yeah.
But
Jasmine's not lazy. There's the headline, everyone.
Yeah, that's it. But I don't know about you, Aaron. I've took my Steam Deck out on a couple of train journeys, like traveling for work and things like that. And sometimes it does feel a bit when you've got when you just plonk it out on the table, and it's quite a big thing.
It is big, yeah. When you first got your Steam Deck out, when we got on the train to Manchester together, I was like,
whoa,
that's so big.
Like,
it's
just
like
plonk
getting out
it
a
on
laptop.
the table. You do feel a little bit silly. Obviously, playing Elden Ring or something, you immediately forget because you're just in the game, whatever. But it does.
I did exactly that on Monday to the train, on the train, like when I was going to London. Like I did take my Steam Deck with me. There was an indie game I really wanted to play. And I was conscious of like, are people going to like look and wonder what this device is? But for the truth is that for the most part, everyone's buried into their laptops anyway and couldn't care less. So Yeah.
Yeah, because there's an element of like, are people going to look at this and go, "Wow, what's that?" Or is it going to be sort of like, "Oh, he's got a Steam Deck. Look, he's got a Steam Deck. Look." Or just like not being bothered about it.
I think the majority of people are probably going to look at it and be like, "What is that? Is that like a
Probably.
Yeah. Did you make that yourself?
one screen laptop?"
Here's one I made earlier.
Yeah.
I made it in my garage. Yeah. Big hunk of black plastic. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just really excited about where this could lead, and I feel like obviously we talk a lot about mobile gaming and the fact that it's so big in maybe not as big in Europe and North America, but in Asia, mobile gaming is way more popular than any sort of gaming. And I feel like Europe and the US are always a little bit behind Asia when it comes to gaming. I feel like the mobile gaming industry and being able to play games on the go, it's coming, and it's just how that looks for us really, and how we kind of deal with that, I suppose, and how that affects our experiences. But I think it can only be a good thing. Just be excited to see who else comes out and tries it. Obviously, we know Sony have got potentially something planned according to leaks.
But what I like and I think is exciting is that, like, for as much stick as I was just giving Asus about, like, the Steam Deck got there first and whatever, you bring up the PlayStation thing, and the thing is with that is that it's not cloud gaming, it's not running the games natively, it is literally just intended as a streaming device.
Yeah.
And while that's probably not great, depending, because obviously you already need to own a PS4 or a PS5, and depending on how much they price it, but all these companies that are dipping their toe in the handheld space, they're coming at it from like a slightly different angle. They're not trying to do the exact same thing. The Ally runs Windows 11. The Steam Deck has its bespoke, thing. PlayStation is doing remote play. Then you got Xbox with their cloud-based streaming, as we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of options, and there comes a point where you run the risk of confusing people. But I feel like having options is good. Having competition is good.
Yeah, absolutely. Jasmine, what will you play on the Ally?
Should I say League of Legends and make everyone really, really upset with me? I don't think League of Legends is a game that would work on there, but yeah, definitely stuff like Fortnite. I think I need to actually work through my Steam library, and that stuff that I just like when I'm at my computer, I just think, okay, I want to play Overwatch right now. I don't want to play through like all of these other games I've got in my Steam library. And I feel like having a handheld where I can just like sit in bed or something, and that sounds so lazy, but that's what I like doing.
I thought you weren't lazy.
Well, thanks.
Elden Ring is in bed is.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? It's like Aaron was saying, it lets us play games in different parts of the house. When you're at your computer, I feel like, well, for me anyway, gaming at a PC as opposed to a console, it's like you're taking it really seriously. I can't just sit at my computer and play like a chill indie game or like Stardew Valley or something. I feel like I'm like really in the zone. So then I feel like having a handheld can allow me to actually play all of these games that I always buy, and then they just sit there and I never download them.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I really want to play Calico. I really want to play Unboxing, and then it's just there, like never ever played.
That's always been the difference between PC and console gaming for me. Like PC is very much a lean-in experience, and a console is laid back, chill on the sofa type thing.
Yeah,
it does feel like that sometimes. Yeah.
Obviously, get yourself a gaming laptop, and then you can play PC games anywhere. We don't need any of these devices. Just a gaming laptop. You're sorted.
Well, I'm going to take my laptop out with me, and I'll take a mouse with me as well. Yeah, I'll take my headset with me too.
Yeah, you think
let me sit on the train. I need to make sure I get a big family table so I can fit.
Yeah, make sure the Wi-Fi's good.
Yeah, and then I'll start playing League of Legends on the train on my way to London.
You can
let me just do that.
You can literally cook your thighs.
And then my fingers would like get 3rd-degree burns on them from having my fingers on the keys. Yeah, let me just do that. Thanks for that suggestion.
How have we not solved this yet, though, with gaming laptops? Because they have been around for a while.
But loads of people buy them. It's a huge industry.
I think it's just that all-in-one fix. It's like, I don't want to build a PC. I don't want to invest that much. All-in-one, boom, convenient.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note, I think it's time to end there. Thank you very much, Jasmine and Aaron, for joining me today. Been a real pleasure talking to you this evening/afternoon. Thank you for both coming on, Jasmine, Aaron. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you everyone who's watched us on YouTube or Facebook. Thanks to everyone who's left a comment and also liked and subscribed as well. And if you haven't, what are you doing? The button's right there. Go and press it. We've got loads of content coming up on the Mirror Gaming YouTube channel. We've got Aaron, our very own Aaron. He's going to live stream Star Wars Jedi Survivor tomorrow at 4 p.m. BST, and then we may do a little bit on Friday as well. We'll have to see. But for the walkthrough, that's all for this week. We'll see you next Wednesday at 4 p.m. BST, same time, same place, for the latest weekly gaming news and the hottest gossip and the hottest topics. We'll see you next week, but bye-bye for now.